Guys, episode 26, Rise and Grind podcast from playing field to parenthood, and we're going to talk a little bracket stuff. I mean, we had this selection show on Sunday.
On Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day, what a treat. I was at the field for 4 games. I was watching on my phone during the game, and I didn't feel bad about it either.
You shouldn't. Yeah.
And you know what? There's not a whole lot that surprises me about the bracket. Well, let's get into it. But I thought, every year there's usually like a, but I didn't feel that.
You didn't?
I didn't. I did not.
That surprises me. You usually have at least one where you're like, that one really threw me off a little bit.
Maybe Oregon getting the 16 seed because I felt like, winning the Big Ten, but strength of schedule, RPI, it was talked about all year with them that,
right.
There's going to be a good chance. And then they didn't help themselves out. They lost in the Big Ten tournament, like early to Michigan. And I know UCLA did too, but I think there's a statement when you win the Big Ten and then you win the Big Ten tournament, kind of like how Texas Tech did it, which gave them they moved in the RPI. Like he was assuming they were going to be like a 15 or a 16. And they ended up being the 12 seed, which
towards the bottom, right?
I think that was a statement for them winning the Big 12 tournament. So
I have that marked as like one of the harder regionals. I think that's going to be a tough regional.
The Lubbock?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mississippi State is, as much as I want to put my dogs up there, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know pitching if they have it. That's all. I think for sure they can swing it a little bit, but Nige is tough. Raylan Chafin for Mississippi State is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I do have Texas Tech. I mean, look at us starting right with the 12 seed. I do have Texas Tech coming out of it, but yeah, it depends on how they hit. You know what you're getting with Nyjah. And this last weekend, I was at Big 12 tournament. We got in on Thursday, watched the semifinals Friday. It was by far the best that I've ever seen Nyjah throw.
Okay.
Even with like her kind of being down this year with an injury bug, no one really knows what it is, but she threw really well. Mind you, they played Baylor, and then they played Arizona State, and then they played Arizona. Lily Walker threw pretty good for Baylor. Arizona State didn't throw Kenzie Brown. Kenzie Brown had 11 strikeouts or 13 against Oklahoma State in the semifinal. Like, she was money. I was like, damn. I think she's second in the country in strikeouts.
Dang.
So when we didn't get that semifinal matchup, if I'm Texas Tech, I'm like, holla.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Really good. So
we'll take this.
I don't know if that's because Arizona State is assuming maybe if they were to win, they're not moving anywhere because of where Texas Tech was RPI wise. I don't know. So Kenzie Brown is ready to go for regionals, but I mean, they put up 18 runs on Arizona State on Friday.
Yeah.
And then Arizona didn't throw Miranda Stoddard or Devin Netz to start the game. They threw the lefty redshirt freshman Ryan Maddox. I don't love that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up losing 4-0. They just, I don't know. I got to go with my ace in that situation. Devin Netz has been that. And if they hit Devin Netz, then we tip our cap and we move on. But then they, So anyways, I'm with you. I think the Lubbock one is going to be tough.
Yeah. I have that marked as like what potentially will be like one of the hardest ones.
I mean, just going and looking at even number 1 with Texas A&M, I love that they were the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I've had them a couple times this year. There's not like one hardcore player. Obviously, Emily Kennedy, but like 1 through 9, they're really sound. And I know we talked about this before, but that it's not just one player that does it all. Like if you're struggling, they have Maya Perez and they have Amari Harper, and then they have Coco Woolley, and they have Allie Enright. Like, there's just a lot of key pieces. The question mark for me with them is pitching. Who is able to step up past Emily Kennedy? And that I think will be the biggest thing for them. You know, you look at their regional Liberties, pretty good. They have, you know,
them and Marist both have 47 wins on the season.
I know. I actually had Marist at UCLA. I had them with Courtney Lyle a couple years ago. Head coach is awesome. Really good dude. Always put a solid product on the field. So, but Liberty's scrappy. They got some good pitching.
Yeah.
Like Root, I want to say last year she had close to 20 home runs. I haven't looked this year, but like she's kind of their stud. And they one down ball pitcher that just is hard down. She's legit. So I have Texas A&M coming out of that, but
yeah.
And then they would match up with the 16 seed out of that. Oregon,
Stanford.
That's tough.
That's a tough regional.
And Stanford's been playing really, really well.
Yeah.
See, listen, Stanford could have very well hosted a regional, but they weren't allowed to because it was on the football field.
Right.
So with that going down, it gave someone the opportunity to host that maybe wouldn't or shouldn't, which is what we talked about in our games for the Big 12 championship. We're like, that gives another opportunity to a team to get to host, which, as we know, makes a really big difference when you get to host a regional and a super, you know, your own stadium, your own crowd. Sometimes teams stay in hotels. We always stayed in a hotel when we hosted.
Really?
Yeah. Distractions.
Makes sense.
Boyfriends, girlfriends, all the things.
No doing bad things the night before. Yeah.
And I always loved it because there was just such a routine. Talk about being one of the most routine-oriented people ever. It's actually a so I have Oregon pulling out of that. I think Lindsey Grine is legit. I mean, she's been the leader of that team. And then offensively, they have the Rabbits. I mean, I want to say they're maybe second or third in the country in stolen bases. Like,
they're so much fast. Yeah.
So I'm going to say that Oregon's coming out of that. So that would be Texas A&M and Oregon squaring off in a super regional, which love to see it. Across my bracket, I have Florida in the 3 seed.
Yep.
With Mercer, Florida Atlantic, and Georgia Tech.
I have Florida coming out of that one.
For sure. I do. Georgia Tech, pretty good, but I just...
Sub 30 wins, though. Like...
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of those things, like, you can't argue. Like, hitting 40 is tough. That's really tough. When a team hits 40 wins, that's a big deal in a season. But to not even hit 30...
Yeah.
That's where you're like, okay, you made it. Like, it's one of those things. Like, that was something I noted, was like, these teams that have less than 30 wins, there's, I think, 4 of them on the right side of the bracket that have less than 30 wins.
Yeah.
Isn't that's crazy to me? Because it's like, I don't know. It's you know, unpopular hot take on that one, but I think Florida comes out of that regional easy. For sure. And squares off in the Georgia got Duke, and Howard pulled it off in the MEAC tournament.
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina.
I got
Duke. Still think Duke. Yep.
I only going purely just looking at pitching, because both those teams can hit. Duke can hit, Georgia can hit.
Right.
I'm going pitching, like looking at Cassidy Curd. I want to go Duke. I don't know. My gut's telling me that. With, you know, we had her on our podcast. She's a vet. She knows the moments. She knows what it feels like. She pitched in the Missouri Regional last year, where they went into Game 3, you know, and it was a tight race, and they ended up beating Missouri to go to Oklahoma City in the Super Regional. So I'm going to go with Duke. So a little Duke, Florida. Not bad.
That's a good matchup. I like that matchup.
It's a good matchup. And then when I move down on my bracket, I'm just going solely off of what mine looks like. The LA regional, which is actually the regional that I'm going to be going to.
So many opinions on that one.
I know. San Diego State, I saw them pop up in there and I was like, shit, like thinking of what they were thinking in the moment, because San Diego State always goes to
wait, we've talked about this so many times on our podcast. We've talked about how UCLA regional looks almost the same every single time.
I know.
And it's like, it's tough. It's tough for San Diego State. And then they get Arizona State in there too. It's like, that's a tough regional.
Arizona State, if they pitch the way that they pitched against Oklahoma State and have that same intensity and that like FU mentality that they did going up against the Cowgirls in that region, scary, because Kenzie Brown, I have not seen her pitch in person, and that was the first time, and I was like, shit, where did she come from? And she's a fifth year, right? She didn't play last year at all. So then I was going back and watching film on her from 2023, and the numbers are staggering from 2023 to 2025. Incredible jumps, which excites me to meet them in person, to get to talk to her, to figure out the pieces that went into that. Yeah. Why are you so much different? Age plays a factor, but like, why else? What else stands out? UCSB going up against UCLA game 1, that's tough. When I was looking at UCLA's stuff, I had them obviously last year for a regional and a super.
Right.
Virginia Tech came to them for the regional, as well as San Diego State. And then I had them when Georgia had all the vets and they came for a super, and UCLA just mashed. When they play at home, man, they're tough.
That's a tough home field advantage on that one. Yeah.
190 fences,
I love it.
Lies, I know. God, it's just such a hitter's game. I got to go UCLA coming out of that. The way they're swinging it, Megan Grant, Jordan Woolry, they have the three-headed monster. They can go with Caitlin Terry. They can go with Taylor Tinsley and Addison Fisher, the freshman drop ball, who's actually a former Northwest Bullet. Shout out to the Bullets. So I have UCLA coming out of that.
I'd agree with you on that one. I think they'll go game 2 on Sunday.
Ooh.
I think UCLA will still come out of it.
Yeah. More options in the circle, I think, too. It comes down to that depth, I think, in a regional where, like, you can only play 3 games if you win the games you're supposed to. But if you don't, who do you have?
It complicates things quite a bit. Yeah. Then you've got them. They'll face off with the South Carolina regional.
Yeah, which I think is a hell of a matchup if both those teams were to come out. Virginia's tough. Virginia is
they did scrappy. Yeah.
They had a really good Clearwater tournament, which, I'd always kind of followed Virginia, but man, they got a little lefty swag in the circle. They're good. So obviously, South Carolina, I think they were picked to like finish close to last in the SEC. And then talk about like an absolute statement. We are hosting a super, and if we win, we get to host a super regional. So
yeah,
haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
But winners win.
You think they're gonna pull it out?
I have a good feeling that South Carolina will. Offensively, they're really, really good. I like that there's not just one hot take in the circle. They really split time up well between the two of them. They're both in big moments. So I like that. It's not just one arm where we're like, oh, shit, if she doesn't throw well, we're not going to win. Well, we have someone else that can step in and has been able to throw big innings. So I think that it's going to be tough. I think Virginia will potentially push them, but I do think South Carolina is going to come out of that, and we'll get a UCLA South Carolina matchup, which I think is pretty cool too.
Oh, so cool. I'm liking these super regional matchups. I think that's going to be a good weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Across my bracket, I have Clemson in the 11 spot, not to jump too far ahead, which I know that they won the ACC tournament on a 2-run shot in the top of the 7th inning against Florida State, because I was watching it on my flight home, which was pretty incredible.
Yep.
I didn't see them as being the 11 seed.
Did not see that coming.
Didn't see it.
Top 20, yes.
Not
Top
11.
15?
I didn't see it. They've had a really good year. There's just sometimes where things happen in the bracket where you're kind of like, oh, dang, maybe I didn't like deep into that as much as I should have to see.
Right. Maybe they weren't on our radar as much as they should have been, right?
Northwestern, they've sniped some teams. I want to say Northwestern beat UCLA 2 out of 3 games in the Big Ten.
I think
play.
they did. I think you're right on that one.
So Northwestern scrappy, a team that I didn't think should have made the tournament that did, and I didn't think Kentucky should have made it. I think they're 29-26. I get it. SEC is a gauntlet. I just didn't think I didn't think they should be in it.
So from what I watched of them, I agree. Because it wasn't just, it's not just the outcome of the game either. I feel like when you watch a team and you see the way that they're producing or not producing and the types of things that are going wrong, I think Kentucky, if I remember correctly from the broadcast I was watching, has the worst fielding percentage in the SEC also.
Yes.
Which is, you can't make errors and win games. That's not gonna fly. So
and it was the game 2 weeks ago that Maddie Shipman had where Texas was run ruled them, but that was the game that Mia Scott played every position.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
And it was like, a lot of errors. Like they were up by a lot in the first couple of innings. And I know teams make mistakes. I won't sit here and say that teams have bad games. Just the consistency of it. I said I have Clemson. I do have Clemson coming out of that. But I feel like Northwestern is going to make it to Sunday.
Yeah, I could see that. They could. Yeah, I think they would take it over Kentucky. They'd beat them in that first matchup. And then they would face off against the Austin regional, which is
tough.
That's a tough regional. Michigan is hot right now.
No, what the heck? Where'd that come from?
And I still have Texas coming out of it, but I think it's going to be.
Don't slouch on UCF. I mean,
that's true. That's true. We've seen them pull it out.
Freshman pitcher right now for them. Saw her in the Big 12 tournament. They ended up losing to Arizona late in the game, but Amina Vega for them has been so good all year. And then they got the senior in the circle, so she kind of like combats the youth, and then they have the experience in the vet, and like they're scrappy offensively. Like Arizona had to come from behind to beat them late in the game. Like I was thinking, watching that game, I was like, shit, UCF's gonna win.
Yeah,
like UCF's gonna go up against Texas Tech tomorrow. But then they just couldn't close it out there in the circle, however you want to look at it. But yeah, so I have UCF playing Texas on Sunday.
On Sunday,
They're
probably going to play. I think they'll play Saturday. Texas will win. UCF will play whoever the loser of the other matchup is. It's probably going to be Michigan again. They're probably going to have another face-off, and then it'll be I could see that for sure. But then we're looking at a Clemson, Texas super. It's a lot of orange.
A lot of orange. It's burnt orange. The hard part that I look at sometimes with like all these unis, like the colored pants and stuff, like the sweat would be through the roof for me. That actually, I may have to request on game days where I'm pitching that we can't wear light colored pants. I mean, I'd sweat through that shit in a heartbeat. In Texas at 90 degrees, like the butt sweat coming
with
down
100% humidity. No, it's we call it swass down here.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
It's not pleasant. It's really not, and I can't imagine. And some of those uniforms are not like the most breathable fabrics.
It would not look good on me. Not that that's a reason not to go, but I will say, if you're a bougie bitch in the circle and you're like, hey, it's game day, I want to wear this, maybe with NIL, you work that in your contract.
I get to pick what we wear on game days. Yeah, that could work. As long as it matches up with like the home away thing, it shouldn't really matter. I mean, you've seen some of these uniforms now, though. We had like 2 options.
We did too. And the white pants, I hated more than anything. Purple pants all day, every day.
We would do this combination of pinstripes. So it's white pinstripes. and our black jerseys. It looked so bad.
It sounds bad. I can't imagine what it looks
So
like.
bad. They have such cool ones now too. Hawaii has like their like white ones with like the rainbow writing. Like that looks cool. But like back then, I thought we looked like clowns, but that's okay. It's not what you're wearing, it's how you wear it, right?
How you wear it. It's your confidence.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's head to the Tallahassee. Coming in the 5 spot.
Florida State for sure.
Florida State for sure. I do recall Auburn having to play till 3 a.m. last year, where we had Sarah Willis with UCF and Becky Penta with Auburn, and they had weather issues in that game. And I remember Mark Neely and Carol Bruggeman were on the call, and like the weather put them in a position to not start until I want to say 10:30 or 11, and they went maybe 10 or 11 or 12 innings, and they pitched until 2:45 in the morning. And the only thing the NCAA did was move the game a couple hours to the next day.
Instead of just pushing it to Monday.
Yeah.
Of course not.
So I remember that series so vividly. I'm with you, though. I have Florida State coming out of that. Only Auburn can swing it, but I did pitching-wise, I don't know.
Right, and against Florida State, that's what you need. You can't, because they're going to produce like crazy. So that'll be where the edge might be. We said Texas Tech.
Texas Tech with my dogs, Mississippi State, Brown. I have Texas Tech coming out of that. That would be
me too. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think Mississippi State's going to fight till the end. Yeah. But I think Texas Tech will pull it out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And then we go back to the other side. Tallahassee?
No, Knoxville?
Knoxville. Just kidding.
This one's kind of, when this one was set too, it was interesting because last year, Miami of Ohio went to Tennessee and coached 2K. That was when Miami of Ohio was hitting all the home runs. And, I mean, shit, they were close to almost breaking the record. I was like, every weekend, I was like, they had 2 players with well over 30 home runs. And now Coach 2K is at Ohio State, which I think is incredible. And I'm actually going to go look right now and see how many home runs they have. I had Ohio State in Clearwater, and the one thing that a couple things that stood out, they do dry swings for a shit ton. Like for first couple months, they just do dry hacks. They don't even actually get to swing, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And
that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, it's a commitment. So right now they're number 1 in the country with 137 home runs. Marist at number 2, and Virginia Tech at number 2 with 103, and then Oklahoma with 102, and then Nebraska at 98.
I mean, that's a big jump too, though. That's like a 20. What is that? I'm really bad at math. Between first and second place, even it's almost like 30 home run difference. Like there's no way anybody's catching them.
God, Southeastern Louisiana has 194 stolen bases, by the way. Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot.
That's hard to do in this game with all the replay reviews and all the things now.
Yeah.
Okay, not to get off topic. Anyways.
Ever. We would never do that.
Now at Ohio State, how are they going to face 75 consistent mile per hour? That's really kind of the biggest thing for me. I'm excited to see that. I have Tennessee coming out of that. Hopefully the defense can have her back, because I feel like they have not in the SEC tournament. I feel like almost all of her runs that she gave up were unearned. I know that feeling. It's stressful. It stinks. But damn, she's so good. What the heck? Why is that happening?
Yeah. Fix it now.
Seriously. Fix it. And they would actually connect up with the Baton Rouge regional, which I think caught a lot of people off guard. Jordy Ball has to go somewhere.
Where else were they going to put her?
Amen.
I have Nebraska coming out.
Yeah. They can't play like they did against UCLA. They have to play better than that. But yeah, Jordy Ball's so good. I mean, it's right now the way she's throwing is better than the way that Sydney Brazon and Heavner, in my opinion, are throwing. And she's a vet, right? So is Sydney, but I got to go with Nebraska too. Love it. I'm such a Jordy Ball fan. Two-way player. Swag.
We both are huge girl. We're like fangirling really hard over her right now, which is fine. But we didn't get our super regional matchup on that one that we were hoping for.
Oh, I know.
We were really close though. They're real close in the bracket. It's just not the right one. So then we would be looking at a Tennessee Nebraska super.
Love that one.
I do love that one. Okay, so back on the other side.
The last four, Tucson. I have Ole Miss coming out of this, man.
Do you?
I
actually put GCU.
You did?
I did.
No. They're good though. Grand Canyon's good. I had them last year in the regional. Always putting together tough,
scrappy. Yeah.
Ole Miss and the run that they had at the SEC tournament and the come from behinds and the hitting. It's the hitting for me. I don't know if Arizona's pitching can tame that offense personally.
I could see that.
You can, but Ole Miss has Brianna Lopez, the changeup specialist, and then they also have a freshman flamethrower who throws 70. So I don't know. I have Ole Miss. That's what I'm sticking to.
That's what you're going with. Okay, cool.
That's what I'm going with.
And they'd square off against the
Fayetteville. Shit. It was crazy because when I was watching the selection show again at home, and it was just like Oklahoma State, like standing and jumping up on the table and stuff, and I just see Ruby like just a quiet clap in the back, like, fuck. Damn it, Bree Ellis, like Arkansas can swing it.
Yeah.
Like, I know we talk about like Robin Heron and Arkansas's pitching sometimes. I think offensively they're better than they are in the circle.
Yeah.
I mean, they were up 6-0 against Oklahoma, and Oklahoma came back and beat them 8-6. Like, that to me means that like in the circle, maybe there's just something that isn't right. But I still got Arkansas coming out of it. I just, I think when I think about Oklahoma State right now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I do believe that they just have Ruby. I don't know if Crandall's good enough right now. She's been pitching better, but I don't know if she's good enough to be able to like go if they need her to. Aycock hasn't thrown a lot. I mean, I have Arkansas coming out of that, and I have Oklahoma State losing in a regional, which is crazy because that's the first time they haven't been to OKC in a long time.
They've been so consistent about it for sure. So it would be heartbreaking, but I'm with you on that one. I think Arkansas is the one that's going to pull it out.
And Oklahoma State hasn't
been. Yeah.
Like Brianna Copeland, two-way player, like Washington lost to Indiana game 1 of the Big Ten tournament. Like Indiana's scrappy too. Like they got like some, that's a tough one. But I also know that I don't pitch to Brie Ellis in big situations, but Amanda said this a lot throughout the SEC tournament. I put Courtney Day behind her simply to know that like if they walk Brie Ellis, Courtney Day, and her home run numbers and her power still
is right behind her.
Do something. So, which they did do that in the SEC tournament. I don't know if they listened to Amanda Scarborough, but they moved her behind her and good things happened. So I have Arkansas coming out of that and going up against Ole Miss.
Yeah. I agree. Back to the other side. Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa the 15. And you know what makes this unique is if this were to work with Alabama, Oklahoma. Alabama beat Oklahoma 2 out of 3
during SEC
play. So
I would love for Virginia Tech to pull it off.
That would be kind of cool with Emma Lemley senior year.
Yeah, and just because I think Bama is great. I think Patrick Murphy puts together an amazing program. but I just always want them to lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got your history with them.
It's a really deep-rooted like thing. But yeah, I think it's probably a Bama regional, and then they're facing up against OU. I mean, Cal having to go out to Oklahoma. They put together some good games at the end of their run there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your Boston U.
Yeah. They didn't look thrilled on the selection show.
They didn't have the right enthusiasm.
No clapping, just like shit. No, like they literally like if I'm Oklahoma and I'm watching that, I'm like, yep, got him. They looked like
done. So what's funny is when I talked to Jocelyn on Friday, we were talking like that weekend and all the matchups and stuff like that, and it was right before the OU. Was it the OU Arkansas matchup? That's what happened this weekend, right? Talking about the right game. Okay, so I'm like, I don't know, Briellis is hot right now. Like we're going back and forth arguing like who's going to come out on top. And she's like, OU has the mental. They have that mental game on lock. Like there is no denying we're going to win. There is no other option. Like that's just how they go into every game. She's like, so because of that, they already won. And she was right.
Well, especially when they were down 6-0. I'm like, oh, Arkansas, kudos to you guys.
Right.
Nope. Yeah, sometimes the best case scenario is like not getting yourself caught up in the super regional against them, but almost back to 2021 when JMU and Odyssey Alexander beat Oklahoma game 1, and then now like someone else just beat them one time and then they're out of the tournament. It's tough to be the same team to beat them twice. So if you beat them once and then you give someone else an opportunity, they're more beatable than you having to do it twice yourself. That makes sense.
Like share the responsibility. Like make everybody pitch in.
Just be all on me. You kidding me? That's what we did.
See, and like this is one of those things where it's like it might end up being a Bama OU, but like I wish in the super regionals it was never interconference face-offs. I like it so much more when it's not that. And so like Tennessee, Nebraska, okay, maybe, but I would have loved a Nebraska OU and like a Tennessee Clemson. Like I think that would have been a really good matchup. Also, like with the way they've been playing, I feel like that would have been a really strong. And then you've got Texas Bama, right? Like if they would have just shifted it just a little bit, I feel like that would have been like a really beautiful right side of the bracket.
No, every year I always say the same thing. I'm like, dang it, it stinks to have to like match up against your own conference.
Which, like, you know, yay, SEC. It like how many? I think they have 12. Is there 12 of them in the tournament?
I'd have to count.
I think there's 12 SEC softball teams in the bracket, which is almost all of them. It's almost all of them. You know, hats off to them, but I do wish that those super matchups were more outside of the conferences, just to like let's mix it up a little. We already watched them play each other 3 times throughout the season. Yeah, if they're gonna play each other again, like make it in Oklahoma. But again, hot take. We got a lot of those today.
Yeah. Crazy.
So we've got action kicking off Friday. Friday.
Yeah. Friday.
You leave Thursday?
I leave tomorrow.
You leave tomorrow because you guys have to do your interviews on Thursdays.
Yeah. I'm out tomorrow. Come back Sunday, depending. So the 2 games Sunday would be 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern time, and then if it goes to a game 2, I'm home Monday. But if it is game 1, but 10 o'clock Eastern time Sunday night, game 2, 7 p.m. if they go to a game 2. So we'll see.
That's past my bedtime.
I know it's past a lot of people's bedtime. And then my partner is like my favorite person ever, Courtney Lyle, and she's so routine oriented. Like goes to bed at the same time, gets up at the same time. Last year she was 8.5 months pregnant.
Right, she was about to pop,
and I felt bad these late night games, right? Because her coming from a 3-hour time difference, I'm like, you're such a boss. You're pregnant and you're staying up late and you don't
Yeah.
complain. Why am I the one complaining? This doesn't make sense, Courtney. She's the best. I'm excited to get back. We'll do the studio stuff together in the World Series. Happy to have her back. She couldn't go last year because, she had her baby 3 weeks after we called our super regional game.
Mhm.
So, yeah, listen, who do you have winning the whole thing?
The whole thing.
You had to pick just right now.
Who do I want to win the whole thing?
Who do you think's going to win the whole thing?
I want it to be Nebraska. I want her to come back and just ball out. Ball's going to ball out. Like, I just want that for her. Who do I think it's going to be? I think it's between Texas Tech and Texas A&M.
Really?
I do.
I'm going Florida.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of random.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, I'm only saying that. I'm looking at their road. Okay. I think they're going to beat Georgia Tech. I do think that they're going to beat Duke. I don't think Duke has played as well as they did last year. Not to say that I don't know how to perform the postseason, but I look at them being able to get to Oklahoma City. I think that that's a team in Florida that was very experienced last year with making it to game 2 and beating Oklahoma and going game 2. Yeah. I think Keegan Rothrock has struggled this year, but she's finally back to her, I feel like a bad bitch. So that makes me excited for them. And then those other pitchers have gotten such good experience. Caitlin Oxley, the freshman, Ava Brown has been so clutch. Like, their pitchers are well versed in pitching under pressure and having to step up because she was hurt. And then I look at them offensively, and I still don't know how Kendra Falvey didn't get drafted to play in the AUSL. She's the best center fielder in the country, for sure. Like, I look at what she's been able to do, and I mean, she's batting almost 500. Like, she's so good in the leadoff spot. And then I just feel like there's such a fear factor in their lineup. Walsh and Corby Otis and Justin Erickson, like, they beat Oklahoma at home 2 out of 3 games. I feel like those are statements. So I'm going with Florida.
Yeah. I think it's fair. I think you're valid in your feelings. But if this turns out the way we want it to, we have a Nebraska OU game 1 in the World Series.
That would be super cool too.
Just kick it off like that. Just straight out the gate.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best super matchups potentially will be Florida State against Texas Tech.
Agreed.
Because you've got the bats in Florida State and you've got Nyjah on the other side. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. Like, that's going to be a great series. Yeah, all the things. But, like, we're going to sit here and talk till we're blue in the face and we're going to get it all wrong. Watch.
Who's your player of the year if you had to pick right now?
That's hard because, like, you're way more in tune with, like, the stats. I'm more of like I watch the whole team.
They don't count much postseason for it. I don't know if they're going to do it more this year, but they didn't last year. They didn't take into account the postseason stuff, right? And
I
feel like the postseason stuff is where you see really what people are made of.
Because it's the culmination of the whole season, right? Like, if you're going to be the best, now's the time to be the best. Like, you can't.
But some of the players don't make it to the postseason that were maybe in the top 10.
That's true.
But then I'm like, okay, well, does that make them not eligible for it then? No, that's not fair to say that. So
do you consider conference tournaments regular season?
I do. Yeah. I think you definitely have to take that into account. Like,
I would say they need to pick it now then before regionals. I would agree with that because I feel like if we're going to use performance up until now to determine the bracket, then you should use performance up until now to determine the player of the year.
Agreed. I think Brie Ellis is going to win it.
You think? Yeah. I mean, that home run. Getting walked. Finally gets pitched to. See ya.
And I only say that because you know, people say Nyjah. I think Nyjah is up there as well. But I also, you know, you look at the SEC as a whole and the numbers that Brie Ellis has been able to do in that conference. Would Nyjah be able to do the same thing in the SEC? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So things that I think about in my head when I shouldn't be. Right there.
Not when you shouldn't be. I think it's valid. I think we have, because I
Yeah.
think that's how we would be thinking about it if we were a player too. Is like, if that was you and you put your, like, okay, well, this is how I did in the Pac-12. If I was in the SEC, how much different would it have been?
Yeah. God, Pac-10 back in the day. The
They were
Candre.
hot. Yeah.
And dang.
It was UCLA, Washington, like back to back to back, Arizona, UCLA, Washington, like all of you guys. Just
Arizona
constantly.
State, Katie Burkhart, and
Back with what was her name?
Caitlin Cochran.
Dakota? Is that right? I can't remember. I'm getting this is it. I'm losing it. I'm getting too old.
I'm losing it too. Okay, well, those are our
That's our predictions. Yeah. Our take on the placements and kind of who we see coming out of each of these regionals. It's gonna be a long weekend of softball, so make sure you guys tune in. And hopefully we'll be back to confirm or just burn our bracket completely.
Yeah. I know. I feel pretty good about my predictions. Feel good about it. Yep.
I think we're pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have a good week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.